So one of the things we were talking about was initiatives on the residential side. And sort of the mother of all initiatives is the RLS, the REBNY RLS, which has been in the makings ever since I started covering this beat. And some people say that, you guys have said that it's always been a part of the plan. I do believe that it's been somewhat expedited by what Zillow and StreetEasy have been doing with their feed and Premier Agent. I think there's been a greater sense of urgency from the brokerage community to get something done. How are you? Where are you on that position?
Well, I think that certainly the work that we were doing prior to this year's changes by Zillow and StreetEasy, with the Premier Agent and then charging for rental listings, elevated during this year because of those things. But the foundational work to make syndication happen, as I said, began under my predecessor, and certainly we've worked through my tenure here to get it done. What happened was, we were planning on a 2017 year rollout. Because of Zillow and StreetEasy, we made a greater effort to get it done sooner rather than later, but it was in the plans for years. It's complicated. There's a lot that needed to be done on a foundational level. We were able to accomplish
It's complicated,
that.
but does it really need to take 5 or 6 years to get a product like that? This is the fundamental criticism, is that REBNY is an organization that it's a mammoth, important, influential organization, but its specialty is politics, policy, getting things done. You're not a tech company. You're competing.
We haven't been,
right?
but we've become one.
But you're competing with the likes of these publicly traded giants that are tech companies from the very, like their DNA is tech. Your DNA
that's not
is
actually accurate. Zillow and StreetEasy are advertising platforms.
Right, but they're powered. Zillow has always been Zillow. When Zillow came along, online listings was not something.
I agree. I'm not trying to argue that they are not tech heavy and tech savvy. What I'm saying is that they're an advertising platform that uses a lot of technology in order to provide the service and a product. REBNY is not and has not been traditionally a tech savvy organization, but reality has dictated that we've become one, and we've become much more tech savvy and much more aggressive in how we approach our technology than we have been in the past. And I think that's just a natural evolution, getting the brokers and working with the brokerage community to get to a point where there was a consensus on how to continue to go. Took time, and
but they're. I mean, some people have likened them to the 5 families. There's disagreements. There's feuds between these brokerages. We've had a situation where we called it an alliance. Essentially, they agreed to syndicate exclusively through you guys, the REBNY RLS. However, a few weeks ago, Corcoran, or NRT rather, struck a deal which would allow them to post rental listings and sales listings for no charge on StreetEasy. Right? That must have been a blow, right? That doesn't mean they're
not at all.
stopping.
They continue to provide their feed through the RLS.
Sure, but there is power in being the only one, right? And this is the incumbent. Like, no matter how you look at it, StreetEasy is the incumbent. That's where people tend to go with their listings. That's where consumers tend to go. So to have that as an option while REBNY RLS is also in place, does that not weaken your position?
No, I don't think so at all. Our purpose behind syndication is not to exclude anybody from having the feed. If you start with the fundamental understanding that in a market as competitive as this, the more outlets you have to present your product to the consumer, the better off you are. And so while StreetEasy is a dominant place where people go to for this information, it is not the only place. And by adding the Realtor.com and the New York Times, so that dominance is only going to undergo some change as the competitive forces start to work themselves out. So we would love to have StreetEasy be a partner and take the feed from the RLS.
They've said no, right? And the reason they cite is data quality and losing something when you add a second layer. What's your response to that?
And I think those issues have largely been resolved by the rollout that we've undertaken over the last year. I mean, a significant amount of time was cleaning up the data that REBNY had in its old database, in the old RLS system. That takes time, and we've done that. And so that debate is no longer germane because the data quality that in the past may have not been there is certainly not an issue now.